All right, everybody, it's about that time. It's time for Animal House Radio, and I'm glad that you could all join me this evening because we got a very special guest in the house. This man is a phenomenal musician, recording artist in every sense of the word, and he's taken a few minutes out of his busy schedule to be with us here tonight. Please welcome for the first time and hopefully after the interview, not the last, on Animal House Radio via American Forces Network. Quick shout out to our men and women overseas who listen to us faithfully every week. We love you and miss you and hope you get home safe. Please welcome Mr. Jack Starr. Jack, thank you.
Thank you for having me on, man. It's my pleasure, and I just love, being able to talk about music uh, with our armed forces and the guys and the women that keep us safe.
Absolutely. And I did you bring the tequila?
Ah, actually, I did, but now that you mention it, we may have to have a little shot
There
during the
you go.
proceedings.
But I got to tell you, Jack, I was totally blown away by the new album, Souls of the Innocent. Um, and right off the bat, growing up in the late 70s and 80s, I felt like I was in my car in 1982 listening to a cassette. It definitely has a retro vibe, and I hear so many influences on it. And your voice is just a killer. I don't know how else to explain it.
Well, we were actually unabashedly and unashamed going for the sound of the 80s because that's our era. And we're not apologizing for it. We're just doing it. And hopefully, maybe we got a little bit better in the last 40 years. But that's the story with that.
Well, I
Just,
listen. I You did something right because I love it, and I'll tell you, it made me want to go out and get a denim jacket and airbrush album art on the back.
well, we'll have to fix you up with that. We really love the cover art for Souls of the Innocent.
Yeah,
It's a really cool,
let's show that up real quick.
great.
That's definitely a retro look to it. Oh my god,
And
that's
if you
so,
can get
so
the
cool.
top of it a little bit, you'll see there's a dragon, which we are going to name um, Blaze the Dragon because I think every band should have a logo and
Oh yeah.
some kind of personification of who they are.
I don't
So,
think a lot of bands do that anymore. For some reason, they seem to gotten away from all that.
yeah, but not us. We're okay with going back in time. But Iron Maiden has Eddie, and a lot of bands have like a symbol. So we have Blaze the
I like
dragon.
it. I like it. I like it. I tell you, I listened to the whole album, and I did. I really like Road to Hell.
Yeah, that's a good one. And man, you're really going for the heavy stuff. That's like the heaviest song on the album.
Yeah, I'm heavy, true blue, heavy metal.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's definitely one of the heavier ones on the album.
I'm not big
Great.
on ballads. I like the heavier the better. So I
Oh,
like
okay.
so.
Very cool. It's funny because the record company and our manager, Giles Lavery, I think they wanted to ease this album into the public consciousness. So I don't think they wanted to come out, with all guns blazing and the heaviest song on the album. But I can see that that's going to end up happening anyway. But probably
Right.
in a couple of months, those songs will be out there, the heavier ones.
Now, when you first decided to do the album, was there any pushback about the like having that retro sound, or was it like they said, do what you do?
Well, there's always going to be people that are naysayers and that want to, put a little hole in your balloon. So yeah, we did. We had a couple of people say, "Oh, can't you guys do anything a little more modern?" You guys are stuck in 1984, and it
That's not a
was.
bad place to be stuck, so they could stick it up their
Thank you,
ass.
thank you, Carla. That's exactly what we told them.
Let me tell you something. And not to knock the new artists, there's some really good stuff out there, but I find myself listening to the older stuff more and more.
Yeah, if it's valid in one era, why can't it be valid in another era?
Yeah.
It's either good or it's not good, and so yeah, we're with you on that, and we have just full backing of our label, Global Rock Records. The album itself is coming out July 15th. This was a
Okay.
preview. They printed up, I think, a couple of hundred just as a preview, a taster, if you will, of
Uh-huh.
what was to come. And we already have one video up on YouTube, the title track, Souls of the Innocent by Burning Star. It is on YouTube now. And it's doing really well. We're happily shocked.
Well, I don't think you should be shocked. I'm just glad that you should be glad that it's being well received. Which once I heard it, I said I couldn't see it not being. Um,
Cool.
that being said, though, you know what makes me realize that the music we grew up on and were exposed to is really, because if you think about it, when I go to a concert, like I'll go see Def Leppard or Judas
Yeah.
Priest or Iron Maiden. Let me tell you something. You ain't gonna find no other artist that's got five generations of people in that audience.
Very true, and that's something that needs to be acknowledged. You just said something that most people don't realize. I mean, you go to concerts, even our band, like in Europe, will see parents bring in their kids, and we were like shocked at first. It was like, wow, you mean like 15 and 16-year-olds like the music we're doing? And the answer is yeah. And a
Yeah,
lot of them come with their parents to see us. So it's a really cool feeling, and it just kind of validates what you've been doing, for the last 150 years.
it's a great feeling, isn't it, when you get validated like that?
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jack, since this is your first time with us, give us how did you discover music? How did you know that okay, this is what I want to do. This is my calling.
Oh, okay. Well, let me get to the whole, it's hard to sometimes go back, but I would say I started playing guitar when I was 12 years old. I found that it was too difficult. I guess there's a lazy side of me. Put the guitar under my bed and I said, no, I'm not ready. And it's too hard to press down on these steel strings. It's hurting my little fingers. And I put it under my bed. 4 years later, I was like 16 years old. I'm in high school. I have long hair. There's only like four other people in the school with long hair. And one day I'm talking to this guy. We're meeting in the hallway, and I go, hey, what's up, dude? And he said, well, I play guitar, man. And then he goes, you must play guitar too because you have long hair and you look like you should be playing. And I said, well, I have a guitar under my bed. I haven't played it in 4 years. And anyway, to make a long story short, this guy came over my house and he showed me a couple of chords. He showed me some songs, and we were like, I don't know, within like 2 or 3 weeks, I had a couple of songs from the first Zeppelin album down, Communication Breakdown,
Yeah.
uh, which led to me liking Black Sabbath also, which led to me liking Blue Oyster Cult and
Oh wow. Yeah.
MC5, and then going back and discovering Blue Cheer, which was really one of the first metal bands. And that was it. I was hooked on guitar. I realized that it really wasn't that hard. I just needed to, put a little effort into it, and I did, and I haven't turned back since. And I've been playing really like over 45 years now. I've been really playing a long time.
Yeah, yeah. You're good at what you do. So would you say, Jack, that like Zeppelin and Sabbath were your early influences as well as probably many others?
Yeah, definitely Zeppelin. I mean, Jimmy Page could do no wrong. When I heard that album, I just wanted to play like him, you know. And also at the same time, I was really getting into the blues too, like B.B. King and Albert King. And then I heard Santana and I thought, wow, this is great. I just love the whole groove thing with the congas and everything. So I started getting more than one influence. And then Jeff Beck came out with the
Sure.
Truth album with Rod Stewart.
Right.
And then I
That speaks
wanted
for
to,
itself. Yeah.
yeah, and I wanted to be like Jeff Beck. And then Queen came out, I think, a year or two later. And then I wanted to be like Brian May. I was always very like guitar oriented. If the
Right.
band
Right.
had a good guitar player, I was into it. It was simple as that. Mountain came out. I was just totally blown away. Leslie West, Mountain, the guy could do no wrong,
Yeah.
Mississippi Queen, and all that. So, and that's always what I've tried to do, you know, with the music. And it's led me, the music really has led me to meet a lot of great people. Like, for instance, right now, we have a guy that heads our Burning Star North office. His name is Phil Simons. And believe it or not, he's a retired Marine captain. And
Ooh, okay.
he's a metal fan, and he's been helping me a lot with videos and media. And so I want to give him a shout out. And
Oh,
also
absolutely.
the other connection too is that I was basically like a military brat growing up. My
Oh, wow.
dad, yeah, my dad was fought in World War II, and then he stayed in France for another 15 years. So it was like he didn't go home right away. He
Right,
worked
right.
for he worked for the government, and we ended up living on military bases, like in Nancy, France. And I speak French because that's where I grew up. So I speak
That's so
French. And,
cool.
yeah, man, and I have that influence, the European metal influence, because it is slightly different, than
Oh, yeah.
American. You have like the Iron Maiden, the Saxons, and that kind of very melodic, metal thing going on. And the American thing is different. It's very heavy, but in a different sort of way. And so I kind of blend both.
Yeah, yeah. I go really heavy too. Like I remember listening to it. I don't know if they're still around, and God forgive me for not knowing. Halloween.
I love Halloween, and
Yeah,
I do believe they are still around. They might have gone through a couple of lineup changes, and really, who hasn't?
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And I like
I grew up,
Rammstein.
right? Oh, they're great too, man. Um, but in Burning Star, I mean, I've been with the bass player Ned Maloney forever. You know, he's old like me, but not quite as old. I got him beat by about 10 years, and he's a super bass player, and he's been on all the albums, and he has just this incredible knack for arrangement and composing, and he kind of brings the discipline a little bit that I lack. So it's a good partnership. And I don't know if you remember a band from the 80s called Manowar.
Oh hell yeah.
Well, we have the drummer from Manowar that's been playing in our band probably for the last 10 years now. His name is Rhino, and you can imagine how he got that nickname. He's a big guy. He's like, 6'2". I'm only like 5'5" or 5'6".
Oh
I don't know.
boy, yeah.
On a good day, I'm 5'6". But Rhino's like, 6'2". The guy's huge. And when he hits the drums, you understand why he has the nickname Rhino. So, and he shows that on the new album as well.
I love it. I love it. Forgive me for, but who are you? The lead vocals?
No, no, our singer, the last three albums, we had a singer named Todd Michael Hall. Um, he is now in an American metal band called Riot, and they're doing really good. They've been around like forever, as actually even longer than my band. They've been around since 1979 or 78, 78 or
Right.
79. Anyway, so he did the last three albums with us, and then he decided to go full time with Riot and also make solo albums and also appear on The Voice, the television show The Voice.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
so we needed our own singer, and you know, we put out a casting call, sort of, and we were looking for a guy that could kind of fill some really big shoes, because this guy, Todd Michael Hall, is no slouch. He's
Right.
one of the greatest metal singers out there, and amazingly enough, we found a really good guy. He's 29 years old. He's from Turin, Italy, and we're all old enough to be his father, but we're not. And he's a killer singer, and so he appears on the new album, and I think he's done a really great job.
Yeah, because like I told you earlier, I hear so many influences, and you want to call me crazy, but I
Mhm.
hear in his voice, I hear like King Diamond.
Whoa, you're really going in depth here. Yeah, King Diamond Man has that kind of I don't want to say evil, but it's kind of like a real like dark,
Yeah,
passionate,
yeah, yeah,
kind of sound, and
yeah,
he's got that. Yeah, Alex
yeah.
has that.
Yeah, I
And,
and like I tell you, it's like I said, it's when you listen to the album. I went through track by track, and
right.
I'm immediately transformed. Like I felt like I was in the '80s, and I mean, when you
It's a
when you
time.
when you do that, when you're listening to music, then the artist has done their job. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that because to me, the album is kind of like a time machine. Just sit back, put the album on, and forget about the world of 2022. Not that
Oh
it's so
boy,
bad,
yeah,
but just forget
yeah,
about it.
yeah,
I mean, 2020 was bad, but 2022 is looking a lot better. So forget about all the bad stuff that's going on, and just get into the time machine and check out the album. And I do that because I'm a fan of music. I'm not just a musician. I listen and I love it. And I love sitting back and listening to an album like Holy Diver by Dio,
oh
or Bark at the Moon by Ozzy,
yeah.
or the Black Album by Metallica, which I know a lot of Metallica fans, that's not their favorite album. But for me, for whatever reason, I really dig that album. And
Yeah.
so it's all good, and I'm glad
Hey,
that
yeah.
you said
No, no. I mean, I'm just telling it like, yeah, I'm just saying it what it felt, you know. So now,
that. Yeah.
Jack, let me ask you, what when it comes to the writing process, do you get everybody involved, or is it one person doing the writing?
Well,
Is it
basically, go ahead.
do you all get in a room and lock each other in and say, all right, we're gonna come out with some, or you could be in the supermarket and something will hit you?
It's a little bit of both. Okay. I started off doing a lot of the writing myself, maybe on the first couple of albums, but Ned just kept getting better and better, the bass player in the band. And his ideas, his musical ideas were just like amazing. In fact, I remember, and I'm always going to remember this phone call. About 5 years ago, he calls me up and he goes, Jack, he goes, I wrote a Jack Starr riff. So, of course, I was like fascinated. And I was thinking, I wonder what he thinks a Jack Starr riff is. And he nailed it. It was almost like, wow, he got me. He understood where I was coming from because it was really where he was coming from as well. But he hadn't really done that much songwriting in that genre of epic power metal, which is kind of what we get pigeonholed as. You guys are epic power metal, and you know what? I like it. I'm good with it. Compare
Yeah.
us to Queensryche or Dio or Maiden
Yeah,
or
if it ain't broke, don't fix it, Jack. That's how I look at it. You know what I'm saying? Let them say what they want. I'd rather listen to something, even a modern day retro feel to it, and still because it's, like I said, nothing against the new music now, but it's just not the same. I don't
no,
think that, and like I said, not to besmudge any of these artists out there because they're all talented, they all deserve
yeah,
I don't think the passion is there anymore. It just seems like they're mass producing stuff like a Domino's pizza. I don't think they stand there and like I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because I came from a decade, two
right.
decades that really focused on music and I just think that the passion is there more. If you've when you listen to the song, when you listen to any song, whether it be Ozzy, Priest, Maiden,
Right.
King Diamond, yeah, like you took the journey. Nowadays, it's just like it's not the same to me. And listen, I could be wrong. This is just one man's opinion, Jack.
No, and I think it's very true because a lot of the things that make it kind of artificial are the fact that um, a lot of times they're not using real musical instruments. Since when did a synthesizer really become a musical instrument? Since when is a drum machine a musical instrument? But a lot of these bands, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find real drums on a metal album today.
Yeah,
Our band uses real drums, and the drummer has like a really good sense of timing. I mean, I think he does use a click track just to be locked in, but he does not use fake drumming or any of that stuff.
Well,
Uh,
the only one I know that uses it, and it's understandable, is Rick Allen from Def Leppard
yeah,
because he's,
right,
he has no
right, of
choice,
course.
you know.
Yeah, he's got to trigger those, those triggers they call them,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the one hand and all that, and he does really well, but really super. So because of that, I think that you're hearing subconsciously the fact that we are very organic. Uh, I'm not using a million effects on the guitar. Uh, in fact, this is kind of interesting. I play my guitar totally clean, and then we send the clean tracks to our producer, Kevin Burns, and he has a studio. And by the way, Kevin is an incredible guitar player. He's played with Dokken, if you're familiar with Dokken.
Oh yeah,
He's played,
I,
yeah,
yeah.
he's a producer, but he's also a guitar player. And he takes those clean signals and he does something that they call reamping, where they run them through really high quality amplifiers and through a really great console, and they come up with an incredible sound. But at the origin, I'm playing clean and I'm playing a guitar. I'm not playing through a bunch of pedals or through all kinds of studio trickery or whatever. We're keeping it real. We really
Well,
are.
well, and that's great, and I you know hope that
And that
you
was
got, yeah.
I was going to
Um,
say, and that's the thing that I think attracted our new manager, Giles Lavery. Uh, he doesn't like fake, fake music, and he told me on numerous occasions that he likes the fact that we're really playing honest music and we're doing it organically. We're not coming up with a zillion overdubs and you know
right.
fake choirs and
Yeah.
this and
Keep it
that,
simple, yeah.
and you press a button and out comes 25 guitars. No, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's real organic, and we're really grateful that there are labels that still exist, like Global Rock, and guys like Josh Lavery, our manager, and Brian Adams, who's the CEO of the label, who took a chance on us and said, I like these guys. It doesn't matter that they haven't, sold 200,000 albums last year. I like them, and I'm going to sign them. And so that's a good thing, when you get that kind of confidence.
Absolutely, yeah. Because there's no, there's the old traditional record labels don't exist anymore with the A&R guy, and what I
No,
found, Jack, so ironic is that growing up, there was no social media. A band had to
right.
sell records for people to know. The only way you would know their music is if you bought their records or heard it on the radio or maybe in a magazine or something. But years ago, you used to have to sell records to get a tour. Now you have to tour to sell records. It's like the whole irony flip flop.
It's backwards. Yeah. I think that, of course, both are valid, and I think they can go hand in hand. But I really do think that these bands that don't go out and meet the fans and tour, they're really missing something, because why do we do this crazy stuff at my age? Why the hell am I making heavy metal albums? I'm doing it because I love it. I love being in front of people. I love meeting them after the show, signing autographs, signing albums, whatever they want, and I also love the process of making the album as well. So they're both, to me, they're both really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Jack, let me ask you, for you and as well as the band, COVID screwed up a lot of all artists, all entertainment people. Um, What, like, did the album come out of this? The creativity, the downtime, or was it hard for you not to be performing? Because I know somebody like yourself who's been in the business a long time and you have that passion in you. It's hard to be sitting on your hands and not doing anything.
I'm gonna say it like Bill and Ted would say. It sucked. It sucked because we were going to do a headlining festival in Barcelona, Spain, in 2021. It got canceled, and that was going to be our first headlining. It was actually a festival. was a small festival, probably about 4,000, 5,000 people. But we were headlining, and it was like, wow, this is like a really cool step up the ladder. And, and that's what it's all about. You take these incremental steps to get higher and higher and connect with more people. So then, COVID put a kibosh on that. But, the truth of the matter is it was difficult because, we had all this incredible fear that was being propagated in the media, and we couldn't help but buy into it on a certain degree. So it was like, I don't know, I'd be talking to the bass player and I would say, man, do you think we should get together, and like be in the same room,
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, I don't know. Oh, what the heck? Let's just do it. So we got together, and we were like kind of like 10 feet apart, working on riffs. And then it was like, let's call the drummer, see if he won't mind, coming in and jamming with us. So slowly but surely, it was like we were kind of saying, you know what, we got to do this because this is what we do, and we're going to do it. Yeah, we're going to be careful because no one wants to be an idiot. And if there was obviously something pretty horrible out there. So we were being careful. And at the same time, we didn't want life to cease. We didn't want our passion and our love and what we do to all of a sudden end. And I remember the bass player in our band, Ned Maloney, his father-in-law played in a British band called UFO, which you probably heard.
Don't tell Eddie Trunk that.
Right? That's right. You're right. He's a big fan. So Ned's father-in-law, Paul Chapman, who passed away about 2 years ago, not of COVID or anything. He passed away of natural causes, and it was very, very sad, and it was very traumatic for Ned, because he was very close to his father-in-law. And we organized this huge concert right during the height of the COVID thing, but it was an outdoor concert. So we felt, you know what, we want to honor his memory, but we at the same time we want to make sure everybody's safe. So we had these giant video screens, a big stage set up, a lot of guests came down, and we did this concert right, during the height of the whole COVID thing. And I remember Ned telling me, man, I sure hope nobody gets sick, because that would really be a nightmare. So 2 months later, we're talking, and I go, Ned, by the way, did anyone ever, claim that they got sick, during the, and no one did. It was an outdoor concert, and everybody really respected each other's space. And we were able to carry on and do this show, and Ned had a successful tribute to his father-in-law, Paul Chapman.
That's awesome, yeah. Now, the album is going to hit, you said July 15th?
Yes, that's the official release date. Okay. Everything prior right now is just kind of warming things up, testing the waters, and, that kind of thing, which was really Giles Lavery's plan. I mean, the guy has, is very thoughtful when he thinks of, well, how am I going to break this band and get to the next level? Because we never had a tremendous success in America. And that's one of Giles's objective, really, is to get us more popular in our own country. So one of his ideas was, I'm going to do this slowly and incrementally. I'm not going to put out a whole album at once. I'm going to put out one song. 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm going to put out the next song. So our next song is coming out July 1st. And it's a really great song. It's called Demons Behind Me. And no, it's not a song about demons or warlocks or ghouls. The demons we're talking about are the demons of alcoholism, drug use.
Personal struggles, yeah.
Exactly. Sex addiction, gambling addiction, whatever the hell it is that people get themselves into, and it takes over their lives. And so what we're saying in the song is that we want our demons, whatever they are, to be behind us, in the rearview mirror. We've put them aside. We've gone forward, and we're kicking butt and taking names.
Now, let me ask you, hopefully, because I would love to come out and see you guys play. You're going to be in the Northeast performing? I mean, is a tour in the works, or?
Well, right now, the way we're approaching this, and the way Giles and Brian Adams, I keep saying, it's hard for me to say Brian Adams, but he's not the Brian Adams that we're all thinking of.
Right.
No. So the way they're all approaching this is they really want the album to implement itself in the marketplace, to do what it's going to do, and to kind of write its own ticket and let us know how we're going to proceed. Are we going to do a tour with another band, maybe a band bigger than us, so we'll get a wider audience? Are we going to do a small club tour? Are we going to go to Europe? What are we going to do? So I think what's going to tell us that is really how the album does. I mean, right now the album is out like a week, but it's not even out a week. What's out a week is one song.
Right.
So that's what's out 1 week. And that's doing really great. It's getting a lot of views all over social media, and
cool.
more than views, because anybody can get views. You show a really hot looking chick, you're gonna get views.
Yeah.
What's more important to us than views is the comments that accompany the views.
Yes.
And I've seen bands with like 40, 50,000 views, and there's like 2 comments. So it doesn't really mesh. Right now, as we speak today, just on YouTube, we're at 3,000 views, but there's like 80 comments. So that to me makes me feel really good. And that's just on YouTube. Now, there's also tons of views on all the other social network platforms. So we're probably at about 20, 30,000 views already. And what's really cool is just the comments that accompany the views. I want to know if people are liking it. And so far, there's not one negative comment.
And it's nice to get the views, but you want the input as well.
Exactly. And that's what we've got right now. Very, very good comments,
Well, if it's the first song, Demons Behind Me, is any indication, and I've heard the album, and I'm encouraging everybody to pick it up as soon as you're able to. Can they, Jack, when it finally hits July 15th, where can they pick it up on? Amazon and stuff like that, or?
Yeah. Amazon, all those digital platforms. Like, I'm old. I don't even know the names of half of these. Thank you. Spotify. I'll tell you a quick story about Spotify. My son came to visit. He lives in Pittsburgh, about like 3 years ago. And so we went to the post office, and my son was with me, and I reach inside the box and I go, oh, this is cool. A letter from Spotify. It looks like a check. So I'm kind of preempting that it's going to be really horrendous. And I'm going to my son, yeah, it's probably going to be for like $1.26. It's going to be like horrible. So, let's not get our hopes up. And it turned out it was actually for like $300-400. And I was like, ooh, yes.
There you go. Steak tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And for Spotify, that was kind of like my introduction to the world of these digital platforms, and I realized, that a lot of people, they don't care about the physical product. That's my generation and your generation.
Yeah.
We like to hold things. I'm even older than you, and what I used to like to do, I would like to hold an album in my hands, sit on my bed in my room, stare at the album and listen to it, and just like look at the lyrics, look at the pictures, look at the album art, and
read the liner notes.
Yeah, read the liner notes to the point where I had them almost memorized, And I think that the kids of today, a lot of them really, they don't know that joy, because it's a really fun thing to have this big thing, that you're holding in your hand, as opposed to something that's very nebulous. It doesn't really exist. I mean, it exists, but you know what I'm saying. It's like it's on a cloud somewhere.
It's not tangible.
Yes, exactly.
You want something tangible. Like I have a big As you can see behind me, I have all kinds of collectors. I got Ozzy, I got John Belushi, Rolling Stone magazine, Meatloaf album. That's Bad Out of the Hell signed, and that's and one of the things I do is when I buy my vinyl, I want it original. I don't want none of that reissue shit.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. It's just a great feeling, to listen to an original Zeppelin album, like Houses of the Holy, or just an original Dio album, or in my case, because I really am into guitar, the Johnny Winter stuff that came out, on Columbia in the '70s. I mean, I was just like blown away. It was an encyclopedia of blues and rock for me, just sitting there trying to learn those, how to play like that.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
here we are, like, 100 years later, and we put out this album, Souls of the Innocent. And I think what's cool about it, okay, and I have to toot my own horn slightly, but I don't want to come off like I'm an egotist or something. But what I like about it is it's got this almost like blues feel, even though it's metal. So like
Yeah, yeah,
when I play guitar, I phrase like a blues guy, and it's really not so weird because Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath, he had a blues band. Jimi Hendrix played blues incredibly well. Um, in fact, Eric Clapton, he kind of did the
oh,
opposite. I mean, Eric Clapton would come out with a wall of Marshalls, but playing blues, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
and I still have that wall of Marshalls. I have 4 Marshall stacks in my garage, and it's a lot. It's
Oh,
like
wow.
I could blow up my neighborhood. And one day, it was really funny. One day we were like rehearsing, and Rhino's ridiculously loud drummer. I mean, I plead with him, I beg with him, man, could you just play like a little bit lower? I don't want my neighbors to come over, And he tries, but he
Yeah, it
can't.
is.
He hits. That's the way he does it. And anyways, this neighbor came over, and I thought the guy was going to be really like pissed off at us. And he goes, "Listen, I just want to tell you, my wife and I are really into this. Could you guys play a little louder?" True
Oh
story.
my God! Wow. See that?
So yeah, so it was good, and makes you realize too that the generation that grew up listening to metal and all that, they've grown up. They're pretty much running the world at this point.
Yeah. Well, they could truly appreciate it more than anybody else. You know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's what makes everybody and the artist like it validates them like that you're getting accolades from your peers and the people the generation like I like the fact that if I go to a show whether it be Iron Maiden or whatever. Like even though there's like we talked about earlier, there's 5 generations of people. I love the fact that I saw it first run, like somebody who saw the Honeymooners for the first time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everybody watches the reruns, but I was there when Iron Maiden first brought Eddie out and Rob Halford came out on his motorcycle and Ozzy bit the head off of a bat. You know?
Yeah, I know. Those are tough shoes to fill. I don't know what we're gonna do when we start playing again, but we'll have to think of something.
Oh, you
But
definitely
yeah,
got to get some kind of mechanical dragon or something with.
I think we will. Yeah, exactly. Now that we've given it a name, Blaze the Dragon, at least we'll have to have some really big guy in a dragon outfit, maybe breathing fire, blowing fire out into the crowd or something. But
Maybe you could dress Rhino up while he's playing.
nah, I don't think he'll go for that.
No,
Uh,
no, no.
Plus, the guy sweats too much when he plays. I mean, he's
Yeah.
a beast. I mean, when he plays, you got to have like 2 fans on him. But so getting back to the album a little bit, Ned really came through in the songwriting end, and some of the songs that are first for us. We have a song called "Ships in the Night." Now, this is one of the tracks on the new album, and Ned told me, "I think we're going to put strings on this." And I looked at him and I said, "Strings? We're a heavy metal band." He
Yeah.
goes, "Trust me, it's going to sound great." So he, on his own dime, flew up to the studio in Virginia. I think it's in Virginia. I could be wrong. It's in that, what do they call it? The Beltway, that whole area of like Maryland, Virginia.
Yes.
on his own dime, he flew up there and he got together with the engineer, and they put strings on this one song, "Ships in the Night," and it's a killer song. And for us, it's a step towards just going that extra mile. You know, we don't want to
Right.
just put out another metal album. We want it to be memorable in
Yes.
different ways,
But
and
not
that's
overproduced.
but not overproduced. No, no, no. Though that song maybe a little bit goes in that direction, but not to the point where someone would say, "Hey guys, can you tone it down a little bit?" No,
Yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah.
It's not like Bohemian Rhapsody. So that's not a bad example because that's like one of my
Yeah.
favorite songs.
That's a
Um,
staple. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is a little bit. I'll say well produced. I'm not going to say overproduced, but
Yeah, there you go.
there's definitely some layers of sound. And I was joking around with another interviewer about 2 days ago, and I said, you know, this album is so well produced, they should issue a set of headphones with every album purchased
There you go.
because
I like that.
it needs to be listened to on headphones, and it's just got that kind of very it's a very transparent sound, but there's a lot going on. So with the headphones, you really hear all these layers and layers. And this guy Kevin Burns is like a genius. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He could he could probably do a classical album by himself, playing all the instruments and
Oh
layering
wow.
it and so on. So we've got really good people on the team, and for me, I mean, I'm a team player. I'm not one of these idiots that goes around, oh, I did this and I did that, and
Yeah.
I'm wonderful.
You
No,
seem very grounded and level-headed, Jack. And that's
yeah,
just from a guy. Even though I know we just met, but the way I could see the way you carry yourself, that you're passionate about it, and you want to, you haven't not let it go to your head.
no, and everybody that I've worked with are nice guys. I mean, that's saying
You've
something.
been
I
very
mean,
lucky, yeah, fortunate.
they're all nice guys, and even our former singer that's not with us anymore, we left on great terms. I
Right.
mean, Todd Michael Hall, great person, incredible talent. Uh, I'm just pissed off that he didn't win The Voice because he was a contestant on The Voice. He got pretty far. I think he was a finalist. He got very far into that show, and I really wanted him to win, not just because he's an incredible singer, but he's just a nice guy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and we all love him. We all left on really great terms, and so that's important to me, and to all of us, in the band.
Yeah, like I at this point in my life, and like I'm not a musician, but like what's the sense in burning a bridge now at this point in the game? You know what I'm saying?
You can't do that anymore. And, well, I mean, I won't do it. Not at my age, man. It's just like we're only here on this planet a short time. Let's be good to each other. Let's
Yeah.
make each other happy, and that's what I try to do. With music. Some people do it through art, through paintings, through making movies, what have you. I do it through music, and I just think that I've got my mom to thank for that. She bought me my first guitar, which I was a lazy bastard, and I put it under my bed for 4 years. But that's another story.
Right.
But I finally woke up and I said, you know what? I want to play this thing, and then I
Well, I'm
felt
glad
better
you
too.
did that. We're much better off that you did.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that, and I felt better. I was reading an Eric Clapton interview, and I was reading that he didn't even really get serious about the guitar till he was like 18 years old.
Yeah,
So I
that's
thought, you know
late
what?
for some people. Some musicians, that's like middle age.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think Eddie Van Halen got into it when he was like, I don't know, 13 or 14. I think that I don't know, most people get into it younger than like 17, 18, like
Right.
Clapton did. I was like pretty much 17 when I started getting serious about it, and really to the point where my friends in high school would be, "Hey Jack, let's go out and pick up some chicks, man. Let's do a couple of six packs." And I would be, "No, man, I'm gonna stay home and practice guitar." And they would
Yeah.
like look at me like, dude, no, don't say that. I would say, no, man, I really want to get good on this thing, you know.
Yeah,
I
yeah. Did you
want to
take
stay.
lessons or you were self-taught?
I was self-taught, you know, and I just basically stayed home a lot, and for you know the first couple of years, you know, and then I discovered playing with other musicians, and it was like, hey, I don't want to stay home. I want to learn from other guys, other guitar players, what have you. And our first gig was actually opening up for Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh, I love one
I
of
had
my earliest. I actually Blue Oyster Cult was the first concert I went to. Was one of the first concerts.
great band. Well,
Kiss.
when I saw them, they weren't even called Blue Oyster Cult. They were
Were
called
they soft white underbelly?
Underbelly. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I was backstage hanging out with the guitar player Buck Dharma,
Oh,
and
nice.
he was a real nice guy. Uh, they threw in a couple of covers because they didn't have enough songs to play. They only had this one album that was going to come out in 3 or 4 months on Columbia, the first Blue Oyster Cult album, and so they played "Whole Lot of Love," and they did it incredibly. So when they came back to the dressing room, you know, I went back there and I go, you know, you guys are great, your songs are great, but can I ask you how you played the riff in "Whole Lot of Love" and how you did that little solo on the 12th fret? And he was nice enough. He showed it to me. So the way I play "Whole Lot of Love" when we do it is from Buck Dharma from Blue Oyster Cult. That's the
Oh,
way I
wow.
learned it. Yeah. And it was
That's
just very cool, you know, when you get guitar players that, you know, have a really great attitude. You know, he didn't say like, you know, screw you, you guys are opening up for us.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was just like, yeah, man, it's all good. I'll show you that. And by the way, did you like our originals? And I was, yeah, they're amazing. You
Yeah.
know,
I
because you
always
know,
liked Eric Bloom's voice. He always had a really killer voice.
yeah, he was like a hell, you know, that
Yeah,
voice, you know, the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
image, you know. Then they
yeah.
would do like "Born to Be Wild," which they also did that night when we opened up for them. And so when I opened up for them, um, this is like I'll just digress a little bit. I don't want to digress too much, but a friend of mine who was 15 years old, his name was Ricky Ramirez. He played in a band called Boomerang. Now, Boomerang had the keyboard player from the Vanilla Fudge, Mark
Okay.
Stein. And he started this band after the Fudge broke up. And on the album was a song called Cynthia Fever. So I thought, oh, what a cool name for a band. And it reminds me of Alice Cooper. You know, Alice Cooper is named after a chick, a woman that probably never existed, but it sounded great. So they had a song called Cynthia Fever. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm going to name my first band Cynthia Fever. And that was it. That was the first band we had. And that's where we opened up for Blue Oyster Cult. And I think that Buck even said, oh, yeah, cool name. So,
Oh, very cool. That's a great story. I love it.
yeah, true story, man.
But hey, Jack, I got to tell you, it was like a trip down memory lane, and I got to meet somebody
Absolutely.
new.
Yeah.
And continued success with Souls and the Innocent. It's going to hit July 15th. Guys, wherever
Yeah.
you pick up your music, whatever digital platform you use, it's going to be across all platforms. I highly recommend you picking it up, especially if you love that retro sound from the 80s, the heavy metal. If you're a fan of heavy metal in general, you're going to love this album. And Jack, I just want to tell you that anytime you want to come on, you have an open door. Consider
Thank you,
yourself
brother.
a
I
friend of the
appreciate it.
show.
I appreciate it. I just want to say one last thing. On behalf of everybody in Burning Star, that's myself, that's Ned Maloney, that's Rhino, Alex Panza, our management, Giles Lavery, our record company, Brian Adams, Global Rock. We just want to give a special shout out and a thanks to all the service people, the servicemen and the women who keep us safe. And we just want to say thank you and thank you for your service.
Amen. And like I said, continued success. And please let me know if you guys go out to tour. I would let if you hit the Northeast, you got to let me know. Tell John. A special thanks to John Lappin for putting this together. Like I said, it was I'm going to be listening to this album now for quite a while. and I get to
Well,
listen to it before everybody else. Ha ha.
thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
You got it, Jack Starr. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great one. Take care.
Take care. We'll see you all next time right here on Animal House Radio.